Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 56 of the video series in which we program an entire video game from scratch in the C programming language. So I made a couple changes just since last time. As you can see, I'm using a green screen. This is because I recently moved to a new house and my wife and I put our PCs, our workstations back to back essentially. So now I need a green screen because my wife is on the other side of the green screen working. You know, because it's COVID-19, everybody's working from home these days. So, but it actually is really cool. As you can see now, you can see the screen behind me, which is nice. There's a little bit of real estate on my monitor that you can see now that you weren't able to see before. This is pretty nice. Let's go ahead and get back to this programming. I think we were at the point last time where I'll go ahead and fire up the game and see where we are. Yeah, this is cool too. You can see the game behind me, which is nice. So we're at this point where we've been working on the draw window function, right? And I've gone and double checked, and the dimensions are correct and everything. So we're good to go there. We didn't finish our border effect or our shadow effect on our windows, and I think I would go ahead and like to knock that out. I think I would like to go ahead and knock that out. And while we're doing that, I might modify the draw text function to behave the same way. I would like to be able to pass in some flags to the draw text function. For example, if I wanted to give the text like a shadow effect or something along those lines. Because I know shadow effect is definitely something that I want on the text. While I'm thinking about it, there's also another big to-do item that's been on my mind a lot recently, and that is you'll notice that every single time I make a code change, no matter how small or to where in the project it takes place, any code change I have to rebuild the entire project and start the game all over, all the way from the beginning. And I think that as time progresses, we are going to become increasingly aware that that is not a tenable solution, that is not going to work in the long term. We're going to have to come up with something else. And so what I think I'm going to do is, this is a trick that I've seen in several other places before. A lot of other people do this, and I think we're going to end up doing this too, is essentially where we have our main game loop that is basically finished at this point, right? We'll leave that in the executable, and then all the other functions and all of the other game logic that we intend to write in the future, I'm basically thinking of basically outsourcing all of that to a separate DLL file. And then in our main game loop, we'll essentially just monitor that DLL file for changes. So like when the timestamp of that DLL file is updated, then the game will dynamically reload the DLL. So the upshot there is that we could keep the game running all the time in the background. And then if we want to make changes to the game, we can just write our changes, compile a new version of that DLL. The game will automatically pick up on it, reload the DLL, and the changes that we made will just magically appear in front of our eyes as the game is running, instead of me having to rebuild the entire game as one big executable and restarting, having to go through the character naming screen and all this stuff again and again and again every single time I want to test every little code change. So that's going to be a lot of work, but I think it's something that we have to do in order to save ourselves a lot of heartache in the future. So let me put that in our to-do list here. I'll just put that at the top of our to-do list. it won't be something that we get to today though, because today, I'm just working on our draw window function, which is right here, and as you can see, the horizontally centered flag and the vertically centered flag both work perfectly. Those are easy. But then we've got a shadowed flag, and then we also have a bordered flag. So I think the border, I guess we've already got. This is essentially done, right? The border is just that white stripe around the outside of the window. But then we have to deal with the shadowed flag. And I'm thinking, let me open up Paint here, or paint.net. So if I let me draw a rectangle. Let's say that's our window right there. And then our shadow is going to look something like this. Let's do a line. Our shadow is going to look something like that. No anti-aliasing. There we go. Something to that effect. Gives it sort of a three-dimensional appearance. But we have to think about this because remember, if I draw this window let's say I draw this window at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. So this is like game resolution width over here and game resolution height over here. And this is the very bottom right-hand corner of the screen right here. Well, in that case, I wouldn't be able to draw the shadow because the shadow is going to go down here and this is going to be off the bottom of the screen, right? Likewise, this would be off the right-hand side of the screen if I try to draw a shadow like right there, which my paint skills are failing me right now. Sorry, line tool. There we go. I wouldn't be able to do that because that would be off the right-hand side of the screen. So how do I want to handle that? What I could do is I could say if we're going to draw a shadow, then automatically shift the window 1 pixel to the left and 1 pixel up. Yeah, maybe that's what I'll do. That sounds like a pretty easy solution. So if window flag shadow, then we're going to do X, take away 1 pixel to the left and 1 pixel up. Now we can draw our shadow without fear of it drawing off the edge of the screen. The next problem is, actually I don't think that's a problem. Draw the top of the border. The bottom of the border is this right here, this formula. So let me calculate memory offset. And I'll comment this to make sure that we know why we're doing it. I mean, that's key, right? Is so many times that I'm reading other people's code and they, well, sorry, let me restart that. So many times I, too, as well as when I'm reading other people's code, I see this a lot. But in my own code, I am guilty of it, too, a lot of times. I write comments to explain what the code is doing instead of why the code is doing that, why we're doing that. So when you're writing comments, you shouldn't write, obviously this would be done, right? Take 1 away from X. That would be kind of a dumb comment to write because the code is extremely self-explanatory. But instead, you should write why you're doing this, which would be to make sure that the shadow does not fall outside of the bounds of the screen. Shift the window 1 pixel up and to the left to make sure the shadow does not fall outside the bounds of the screen. Nice. And then we have to consider the possibility that maybe my X and Y are already 0 and 0. So we're going to do if X is greater than 0. Do that. And if Y is greater than 0, if Y is, yeah, that's right. Y is greater than 0. So that should handle the situation where my window is in the top left corner of the screen, right? The only downside to this is that, I really don't like putting a lot of branches in this code path because this code path is the really hot code path in our game, and it's going to slow our game down if we put too many branches in it. But these are pretty minimal, and I think they're kind of unavoidable just for safety's sake. So that'll do. Right. Okay. All right, we're drawing a shadow, and I want to start. No, I want to start not here. See, I'm leaving this pixel empty right here. Let me start this over because I need to. Actually, let me go down here. Let me draw this again. Make sure it's on 1 pixel. 1 pixel. All right. Stop. All right. There's our window. I want to start drawing the shadow right about here. Right there. For like, for a 3-dimensional effect, right? And it's going to go all the way over here. And then it's going to come up to here, and it's going to stop 1 pixel shy of the top. And that's just your really basic 3D effect. So to achieve that, let's see, this is the bottom, memory offset, starting screen pixel. So if I add 1 to the whole thing, you think that'll do it? What the heck? Put that there. Okay. Now we need stos D, memory offset. We draw width -1 because it's going to be 1 pixel. No, wait, that's not true. It's going to be the full width because it's going to go past the edge of the border. Alright, so I think that's good, except we need this to be a gray color. So it's going to be something like 7F, 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 7F. Except for alpha, which is still going to be FF. So I think that's gray. Let's go look and see. that did not work at all. Oh, I know why. Because we didn't actually specify a shadow in overworld.c when we are drawing this thing. We have when bordered, window, flag, shadow effect. There we go. And this is BGRA, which I can never remember. Let's go back over here. BGRA. So my alpha channel, which it doesn't really matter, remember, because we're not really doing any alpha blending, so it doesn't really matter what my alpha channel is, but alright, so this should draw a little gray stripe, a little gray line underneath my window. And it still didn't. I see a little blue line over there. So apparently, I'm still confused as to what these colors should be. Okay, now this needs to be pushed down. Which I think I can do with. Wait a second. I think all I need to do is take this -1 away here. Not to do the trick. Let's try again. Okay, perfect. Now we draw the we need to draw, let's see, row equals 1, row is less than height. I'm trying to remember if this draws top down or bottom up. I'm basically just trying to make it some shade of gray. We'll figure out what shade of gray we want to make it later. Okay, that seems to work perfectly. That shadow effect seems to look perfectly fine. Draw 1 pixel on the gray pixel on the right side of the window, 1 pixel per row. Okay, and now the exact color of gray. is a good question, and I think maybe, I don't know how to spell palette, but that's okay. So I'm trying to find out what colors could the NES display, the actual NES. And I remember reading an article about Shovel Knight, the game, which I think I've talked about it before. If you've never played Shovel Knight, it's a really fun game. You should definitely go play it. In fact, I kind of want to go back and replay it. But it is a retro indie style game that they tried to sort of mimic the nostalgic feel of the NES, but they didn't strictly limit themselves to just the NES palette because with nostalgia we tend to look back at things through rose tinted glasses. Especially when we were little kids playing the NES in 1985, and we thought it was really awesome back then. But if you go back and try to play an old school NES game today, it's really ugly. The NES is really ugly, and we don't necessarily want to make our game that ugly. So it's best to sort of be inspired by the limitations of NES hardware, so that you get sort of that feel, that aesthetic of being on an old NES, but not necessarily take some creative liberties where you have to, like maybe like for example, we're going to allow more than 8 sprites per scan line, which the NES couldn't do. It had all sorts of technical limitations that we don't have to deal with anymore, obviously. The color palette being one of those things. We don't have to restrict ourselves to using only the colors that were available to us on the original NES. But at the same time, you don't want to use too many colors, or not have any consistency in the color palette that you use, because that will really break the it'll break the illusion that old school NES feel. So with that being said, I believe that is a legal NES gray color, 7C. So I'm going to use that. And I should probably define these somewhere. And I think that's alpha. Right? In fact, I don't even know if the NES could do pure white. Let me look. Yeah, see, if you pay attention here, the original NES couldn't even do pure white. It just did this off-white color that looks really close. It may be indistinguishable from white, but it's not pure white. Maybe I'll go ahead and change that. FC, FC, FC. In the bordered feature here, while I'm at it, make sure I'm not messing this up. FC, 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 FC. FC, 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 FC. Alright, let's see what it looks like. Pretty much the exact same. I don't think that's really as dark as I want it to be, though. Let's see what else what other color do we have here? That was 7C. Doesn't really get any darker than that, does it? Other than black. Okay, I'll leave it. I will leave it for the time being. So I think that's it for our window code. until later, I think we want to add more effects in there, like a shake. Like whenever the enemy, imagine you're in a battle, and when the enemy hits you, I want to have all the windows shake, and it'll probably make your Xbox controller shake at the same time. I think that'd be really cool. But for now, I think I will move on. The point of doing that draw window function was basically to enable us to get on with the battle game state. And if you remember, let's see, battle game state, I think it is in initialize hero. Random encounter percentage, if I change this back to 90, then I should go back to having a 10% chance. Every time I take a step, I'll have a 10% chance of running into a random monster encounter. So I'm going to change that back. Then I'm going to go to, let's see, I guess it's in, oh yeah, it's in overworld.c. I get down here to where my step ends, right here. Here we go. Should we run into a random monster encounter? We basically roll the dice, we take a random number, mod 100, and if that is greater than 90, greater than or equal to 90, then we run into a monster. And if I go to that function, all it does now is it changes the game state into battle game state. So now we need to work on what does that actually do. So I'm looking at my C files, my H files. I don't think battle. Oh, battle. Here we go. Okay, there's battle. What does battle do? We can escape that. Draw battle. Okay. That's just a clear screen. We don't need that. So what is the first thing I want to do? Let's go look at these screenshots again. Dragon Warrior, NES, images. Here we go. Good old battle screen. Alright, well there it is right there. Although that's cropped, I want to get the whole picture. Here we go. Here's a knight. No, that's a YouTube video. Let me find another one. Here's one. There it is. There. Okay, so I really just want to basically copy this, this UI and this sort of feel. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a window right in the middle of the screen, and that is where we're going to draw our monster. And then we're going to draw some extra windows around it to show, you know, your stats. We're going to have a command window, and then we're going to have a status window down here. So, okay. First things first. Draw window. And now for X and Y, I think it can be, we don't need an X and Y coordinate because we are going to center the window both vertically and horizontally. And remember, when you do that, the X and Y coordinate, those are ignored, so we don't really care what those are. The width, I guess, is going to be, I really don't know, but let's just guess 128 by 128 right now. The background color is going to be black. And then the flags, which will be window flag, horizontally centered, window flag, vertically centered. And I guess that's it for now. I'm not sure if I want this window to be bordered or not, so I'm just going to call it like that. Let's go back to main.c for a second, or sorry, overworld.c. Yeah, see, this is going to continue confusing me forever, I think, because when I use this syntax in DrawWindow, it goes BGRA. But if I go to, sorry, where is Overworld? But if I go down to BGRA, when I go to the DrawWindow function, suddenly it's ARGB if I do it in that syntax. So it's an Indianness problem. And I mean, it's not really a problem, it's just something that's eternally going to confuse me and keep me guessing. So yeah, I guess that's it. That's a black window. We're going to leave this logic in here, so when I hit the escape key, I can escape from battle and go back to the overworld. What else am I missing? Let's go back to overworld.c. I don't need that window anymore for right now. Alright, let's see if we can make this happen. We could go ahead and do our music too, the music that starts at the beginning of each battle. Okay, so I walk and there, I encountered, that's a random monster encounter. So where in that black window that just appeared is where I need to draw the monster. I think it's a little too big though. There's another random monster encounter. And there's another random monster encounter. So yeah, when that happens, as soon as that happens, there needs to be some, battle music that, so that you know that you have just run into a monster. Okay. Overworld. Where's battle? So maybe 96 by 96. What else? All right, let me go grab some music here real quick. We'll go ahead and plug this music in. Let's see. Battle theme. Download. Download. Okay, I'm going to put these in assets, and I guess I'll just dump them here. So, okay, I've got these two new files right here called Battle01 and then Battle01 Intro, and they're both OGG format as usual. Let me go ahead and rename these to fit the naming scheme. We'll do Battle01 and battle intro 01. Alright, now I need to listen to these. Let me set my output back on my speakers. So the reason I have two files here for the battle music is, well, you'll hear it for yourself. This is the intro file. Okay, so you heard that. It's sort of there's sort of a surprising noise, a jarring noise that happens as soon as you run into a monster. And then that is supposed to lead seamlessly into the battle, this loop, this song here that loops on until you defeat the monster or the monster defeats you, right? So that's why we need two files right there. So let me add these to my copy assets.bat batch file, which is right here. Edit. I don't want to download an update package right now. Wave og. Okay. My mini-z.exe assets.bat add. Type correctly. Assets. I also changed out my keyboard in case you guys didn't notice. I changed it out to another keyboard that I put little rubber O-rings. So here's my keyboard right here. But it's a mechanical keyboard. I put little rubber O-rings underneath the keys so that it wasn't as loud. I was watching last episode and I realized that the sound of my keyboard clacking is really loud and kind of annoying in the microphone on video. So this keyboard should be a little quieter. Anyway, so let me finish adding the battle music. My mini-z exe assets like that. Battle intro 01.log copy assets.log. Okay, that looks good. That looks good, and yeah, okay. Oops. All right, now we need to run it and rebuild our assets file, which, remember, if you are downloading all this stuff off of the GitHub repo, off of my GitHub repo, you're going to have to rebuild the assets file too to update it with the new music files. So now that that is done, let's go that's right. Sorry, it took me a second to think of what the next step was. The next step is I need to actually load those files. So in my asset loading thread proc, which, remember, our asset loading occurs on a separate thread. This is so that the splash screen can play while the assets load on a separate thread in the background. So let me find, I like to group them together here. Okay, battle 01, 2G, music, battle 01, which, yes, I'm aware I've not created that local variable yet, but that's okay. I'll do it in a second. Okay, that's done. Now we'll load the intro. Battle intro into G music battle intro 01, loading battle intro failed. Okay, that's done. Now we just need to go to main.h and declare those global variables, which is right about here. Game sound, G, battle, no, G, music, battle, 01. Game sound, G, music, battle, intro, 01. Okay. What the heck? Oh. Right. Truncation from int to U8. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, now what we need to do next is we need to copy our boilerplate code from the same boilerplate that we use in all of the other game states, which is at least these two, local frame counter and last frame scene. Right, we use those in every game state, right? So we're going to use them in this game state as well. And I think we're going to probably use them here. Battle. And I remember in one of the previous episodes, I made this big long comment to explain what this block of code is for. Okay, hang on. Let me go to this may be a more appropriate place to copy it from. Do I really want to do all the fade stuff? Yeah, I think I do. So let me copy out of title screen. I'll go back to battle. Okay, so we have local frame counter, last frame scene, and text color. The idea is that, well, as the comment says, so if we leave the game state, the last frame scene, which is local to this game state, if we leave this game state and go back to, say, the main menu, for example, this counter will stop counting because it's local to this function, right? And then if we come back to it later, the global total frames rendered will be greater than the last frame that this game state has seen, so we will know that this game state has been left and re-entered, which is a cue for us to reset all of our beginning animations and stuff, the things that we do at the very beginning of the game state, like fading in or fading out. So let me go to title screen. We also disable player input while the transition is occurring. Okay. Title screen. And don't forget, at the very end of the function, we need to increment. Hold on. This stuff can go. It's not relevant to this game state. And don't forget, at the very end of our function, we need to increment our local frame counter, and we need to save off the global frame counter to the local one. All right, and that is basically the framework that we use for a new or boilerplate that we use for a new game state. So, okay. Which we could probably now do, well, it's black anyway, right? So it doesn't need to fade. Okay, let's just try this. If last frame seen equals 0, I think. No, wait, sorry, local frame counter, that's right. Local frame counter equals 0. Then we need to stop music. Is this like a stop all? I can't remember. Let me click on this, hit F12, stop. Yeah, it basically just stops, immediately stops whatever is in the current buffer. So in this situation, it's going to be the overworld theme music. Do we want to stop it or do we want to pause it? I don't know. I guess we'll stop it. And then we want to play, which apparently is not game. Is it play game music? Play game music. And it needs a pointer to G battle music intro. But we don't want it to loop, right? Is it going to loop if we do this? Probably. Let's see what it looks like. We can't have the intro music looping. Okay, so the intro music is looping. It's a problem. Our stupid window is blue again now because I can never remember the difference between ARGB and BGRA. And thirdly, I disabled player input and never re-enabled it, so I can't hit the escape key. So those are our current problems. So let's see, what, for consistency's sake, it looks like at frame 40 is where I re-enable keyboard input. So I'm going to do the same thing in battle.c, for consistency. How do I tell this not to loop? Let me go to play game music. So it looks like I need to add, probably need to add an argument here. So let's go to main.h, where we declare our play game music function. Play game music, we need to add a parameter for bool loop. I don't know why IntelliSense is telling me it has a problem with that now. I don't understand. Oh, there it goes. It finally caught up. I hate IntelliSense. Main.c. Do the same thing here. We'll add bool loop. Again, IntelliSense thinks it's an error right now. Don't know why. If loop, then we do that. Else, I guess we should say game sound buffer loop count equals, I don't know, 0, 1, what should it be? Let me look up the documentation. X audio 2 loop count. Loop count, loop begin, loop length, loop count. Number of times. This value can be between 0 and max loop count. If it is 0, no looping is performed, and those must be 0. Okay, to loop forever, set loop count. Okay. So by setting it to 0, that should be good. Now we're going to, some new errors are going to pop up because in everywhere else in the project where we use the play game music function, we've now created an error because we have to go back and add this new parameter to every place where we use the function. And that's why when you look at large projects like Windows, for example, that's why they don't change their APIs very often. Because if they did this, where they just be like, oh yeah, this function works like this now, they would break every app that had ever used that API, and that would be no good. So, oops. Since IntelliSense doesn't want to tell me where all those other instances of play game music are, I'll go ahead and try to build, and the compiler will give me compiler errors. There's one. Is there only one? I don't know, but we do want that to loop. Let's try to build it again. Yeah, I guess that was it. Okay, well, let's see how it looks now. So far, so good. All right, back to battle. Play game music. Play game music. G music battle 01 loop count true. Now I wonder, does it flush the queue immediately when yeah, it does. Oh wait, if pause equals false, it's going to stop it, it's going to flush it. So that's no good. I was hoping that I would be able to just queue this music up right behind the intro music, but apparently not. Because I'm pretty sure this is going to cause it to start playing at the same time, which is not at all what we want. Let's double check. And it continues playing. Okay. How are we going to fix this? I want to queue this piece of music up right behind this piece of music so that when this piece of music is finished playing, it automatically starts playing this one. The only thing that comes to mind would be another maybe something like in bool or immediate. Let's try that. So the idea is that if immediate is true, then I want you to immediately flush whatever is currently playing and start playing my music right now. But if immediate is false, then I want you to let whatever is currently playing finish first and then cue this one up, which I think should work because we only have one source voice for music, right? So I should be able to cue things up. All right, so let's try this. Main.c, play game music. Okay. If immediate, then we stop and flush. And I guess that is I might have to change this. I don't know, we'll just have to listen and find out. Okay. Okay. Immediate true, because I do want you to stop and flush and immediately play the battle intro, and now the battle game music. Immediate will be false, because I want you to just cue that behind this. So I think that will work. Let's go back here and fix this other one. True. Okay, build succeeded. Let me go back here and fix this. This is BGRA. BGRA. All right, now let's listen and make sure our music sounds correct. Yeah, that was perfect. I mean, there was not a skip or a pop or a missed beat. I think that transition went perfect. So this is our battle music. This is what you're going to be listening to whenever you fight a monster. And the monster is going to be drawn right there in that black square. I'm going to have to stop the music after this. Okay. After the battle ends, but I think we're going to have to get to that next time because we're probably about out of time for today. So yeah, what all did we do? We added a shadow effect. We finished the border effect on our DrawWindow function. We added a shadow effect to our DrawWindow function, and then we started using our DrawWindow function to start fleshing out our battle game state of what happens when you randomly encounter a monster. And then as an added bonus, we added some new music. We added our battle music to the game state, battle game state as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty good progress for an hour. And so that is all we have for today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave your questions and or comments on the video, and I will address any interesting questions or comments in an upcoming episode. Your questions or comments don't have to be about this episode. They can be about any episode. Just, send me whatever's on your mind. Secondly, don't forget that we have a GitHub repository. All of this code is on GitHub so that you can download it and follow along at home. And I think that is it. So, again, thank you very, very much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Please tell your friends. Anyway, I'm out. Later.